All right, let's talk about Kubernetes. If you've ever tried to run it in production, you know the deal, right? It has all this incredible power, but man, it can be an absolute nightmare. Today, we're going to dive into Amazon EKS and see how it was built to tame that very beast.
And this really is the question, isn't it? On paper, Kubernetes is amazing. It promises you everything: scalability, resilience, all the automation you could dream of. But then you get it into production and the reality hits. It's often just this tangled mess of complexity, and you're getting paged at 3 a.m. So let's get into why that happens.
So before we jump into the solution, and trust me, EKS is a pretty great one, we really have to understand the problem. We need to look at this self-managed Kubernetes nightmare. And I'm not being dramatic. We're talking about the kind of real-world disasters that give entire engineering teams nightmares.
Yeah, look at this list. This isn't just stuff you read about in a textbook. These are the things that actually happen to companies. Think about it. Your entire cluster's brain, ETD, just gets corrupted. Poof, gone. Or you try and upgrade, and it completely bricks your production environment, taking down all your services. And all the while, the cost of just trying to keep the lights on is just going up and up and up.
And this right here, this is the real cost. It's not just about servers going down, it's about the people. You're burning out your absolute best engineers, your SREs. They're spending all their brainpower just firefighting and keeping the platform stable, instead of, building the cool new features that actually make the company money.
Okay, so after all that doom and gloom, it's pretty obvious that a better way was needed, right? And this is exactly where EKS comes in. AWS basically looked at all that operational pain and said, we can fix this. They built EKS from the ground up to take on that burden and give you a rock-solid foundation.
So what is EKS exactly? The most important part to remember is this: fully managed Kubernetes control plane. That's the magic phrase. It means EKS takes care of all the messy, complicated, and super critical parts of Kubernetes for you. That frees up your team to just focus on what they're actually good at: building and shipping your applications. All right, that sounds great in theory, but how does EKS actually solve those problems we just talked about? Well, that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to connect the dots and show you exactly how EKS features map directly to those nightmare scenarios. Okay, let's tackle the biggest monster first: etcd corruption. You have to think of etcd as the brain or the central nervous system of your Kubernetes cluster. It holds everything: every secret, every config, every pod state. And when you're managing it yourself, it is notoriously fragile. One little network hiccup, a power outage, and your entire cluster's memory can just vanish.
And this is how EKS fixes it. It's not just one simple trick. It's like a whole safety net. First off, they run etcd across 3 different data centers, what AWS calls availability zones. So an entire data center can go offline, and you're still fine. On top of that, AWS is constantly taking backups, they're monitoring it 24/7, and they're automatically repairing anything that even looks a little bit wobbly. The risk of losing that critical data, it's basically gone.
And what about upgrades? Oh man, the upgrade fear is real. When you're on your own, it's the super stressful manual process where one wrong move means downtime for everybody. But with EKS, it's a completely different story. AWS handles all the crazy complex stuff for you safely in the background. For minor versions, you often won't even notice it happened. Zero downtime. You just have to click approve for the big version changes and they handle the rest. It's a game changer. Okay, to really get how EKS works, I love this simple analogy. Think of it as the brain versus the body. This one idea is going to make it super clear who's responsible for what when you're running an EKS cluster. It really is this simple. The control plane is the brain. It's the part that makes all the smart decisions. Where should this container run? What happens if a server fails? How do we scale up? AWS takes care of that entire complex brain for you. Your job? You manage the body. And the body is the data plane, the actual EC2 instances, the worker nodes where your applications live and breathe. And this chart really shows you what's going on inside that brain that AWS is managing. You've got the API server, that all-important etcd database we talked about, the scheduler, the controller manager, the whole shebang. And AWS is making sure all of it stays healthy, secure, and up-to-date around the clock. So if AWS is taking care of the brain, what are your options for the body, for the worker nodes? Well, you've got some great choices. The most common one is managed nodes. It's kind of the best of both worlds, where AWS helps automate a lot of the node management for you.
If you need total control, maybe for a custom operating system, you can go self-managed. And if you want to forget about servers entirely, you can use Fargate. It all comes down to a trade-off. How much control do you need versus how much you want managed for you?
All right, so we've talked about what EKS is and how it works. Now for the million-dollar question. Is EKS actually right for you and your project? Let's walk through a quick way to figure that out.
So EKS is probably your best bet if you find yourself nodding along to these points. Are you building with microservices? Do you absolutely need zero downtime deployments? Do you need your app to be highly available, like spread across multiple data centers? If you said yes to these, EKS was literally built for you.
But hey, let's be real. EKS isn't the magic bullet for every single project out there. You might not need it if your app is a pretty simple monolith, or if your team is brand new to Kubernetes and the learning curve feels a bit steep. In those cases, maybe a simpler serverless option like AWS Lambda is a much better place to start. Kubernetes can be overkill sometimes.
And then we come to the price. This really puts everything into perspective. We're talking about 10 cents an hour. For that, you get the entire brain, the managed multi-data center auto-scaling control plane, all done for you. Now think about that. Compare 10 cents an hour to the salary of even one SRE, let alone a whole team you'd need to hire to run this yourself. The math starts to look pretty good, doesn't it?
So I want to leave you with this one final thought. When you're looking at that price, what are you really paying for? Are you just buying a service from AWS, or are you buying peace of mind? The peace of mind that comes from knowing that the most complex, most fragile part of your whole system is being run by the experts, so your team can finally stop firefighting and start building. Something to think about. Thanks for joining me.